This is our first video on addition and subtraction of fractions. And in this video, we'll do two examples. In our first example, we have 1 over x minus 1 over x plus 1. And what we want to do is simplify this algebraic expression. Now, what it means to simplify fractions is that we want to rewrite it as one fraction. So in order to rewrite this fraction, I need to identify the lowest common denominator. And what I do is I look at the denominators. And here I have x and x plus 1. So the lowest common denominator would be x and x plus 1 combined, or the product of x and x plus 1. Now, what I will need to do is rewrite these fractions. So in our first fraction, we have 1 over x, and we see in the denominator, we still need an x plus 1. So I need to multiply the denominator of the first term with x plus 1. And what I do in the denominator, I will do in the numerator. So I'll have 1 times x plus 1 over x and x plus 1. In my second term, in the denominator, I need to multiply with an x, and I repeat that calculation in the numerator. So I'll have negative 1 times x over x and x plus 1. Now I have two denominators that are the same. And we know that when fractions have the same denominator, then we can add the numerators together. For example, 2 over 4 plus 1 over 4 would be 3 over 4. Notice that when we add it together, we do not add the denominators with each other. We simply add numerators. So that same principle applies here. I will not add or subtract the denominators from one another. So it will be x and x plus 1 in the denominator. And in the numerator, I'll have 1 times x plus 1 minus x, or 1x. And if I multiply out in the numerator only, I have x plus 1 minus x over x times x plus 1. And if I simplify, that is equals to 1 over x times x plus 1. Now I have simplified this expression into a single fraction in its simplest form. In our second example, we have 2 over x minus 3 plus 1 over 3 minus x plus 6 over x plus 4. And again, we want to simplify this by writing it as a single fraction in its simplest form. So what I need to do is identify the LCD. But look at the denominators in our first and second term. They are very similar. Here I have x minus 3 and 3 minus x. So what I want to do is rewrite 3 minus x to also be x minus 3. So if you consider 3 minus x by itself, and you take out a common factor of negative 1, that means to divide each term by negative 1, then I'll have negative 3 plus x. And if I rewrite that, it will be negative times x minus 3. So if I factorize by taking out a common factor of negative 1, I can rewrite this fraction. So a switch around takes place, or a sign change rule takes place. Also, if you can't remember how to factorize, I recommend that you watch our review of factorization. So before I find the LCD, I can rewrite the second term as negative 1 over x minus 3. And now we see that the first term and the second term have the same denominators, so we can add these two terms together. And that will simplify to 2 minus 1, which is equals to 1 over x minus 3, because we do not add or subtract denominators from one another. And then plus 6 and x over 4. Now we can find the LCD, which is simply x minus 3 times x plus 4. So that will be x minus 3 times x plus 4. Now in the first term, I need to multiply the denominator with x plus 4, and I repeat that calculation in the numerator. So it will be 1 times x plus 4 over x minus 3 times x plus 4. And for the second term, I multiply x plus 4 with x minus 3, and I repeat that calculation in the numerator. So I'll have plus 6 times x minus 3. Now I have these three terms as one single fraction, but it's not yet in its simplest form because I can still do calculations in the numerator. So if I multiply out in the numerator, I have x plus 4 plus 6x minus 18 over x minus 3 times x plus 4. And if I add up like terms, I have 7x minus 14 over x minus 3 times x plus 4. And you can also take out the highest common factor in the numerator. So it'll be 7 times x minus 2 over x minus 3 times x plus 4. Now I have simplified the original three terms as one single fraction in its simplest form.